Hey, what's up guys, BY Gaming here. So in this video, I basically have two topics to talk about because the corrupted era is actually going to be ending in about 2 weeks. So before we get into what exactly I want to talk about, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Now, returning back to the topic at hand, basically with the end of this Legends Pass, I believe the corrupted era is going to be over. And so that begs the question, is there going to be another power scaling kind of problem happening here, which is basically, new monsters, new, abilities, new base stats, new higher base stats. And obviously you need to keep collecting these monsters in order to stay viable, and everything else that was released up until this point slowly falls out of the meta. Do you think that's going to happen? And second of all, the second thing I want to talk about is, do you think that that needs to happen, right? Because from a sales standpoint, we would also have to think about, like, what would that do, right? Would it help sales? Would it hurt sales? I'm just kind of curious, right? So those are the two topics I want to talk about today, and two topics that I want to ask you guys about, and obviously ask you guys to give your thoughts about in the comment section below. So number one, will there be a power scaling, addition to the game? Basically, higher stats on monsters, new monsters that have just, a big advantage over corrupted monsters, and obviously cosmics and OG mythics and everything else up until this point. Will that happen? I personally feel like it will. Now, I don't know for sure, but we're going to find out pretty soon anyway. But, the thing that kind of leads me to believe this is going to happen is because, well, if you look at the past trend of the game, that's pretty much what has been happening, right? OG mythics, they were hot for a while. Then cosmic monsters came out. They obviously were better. And so they basically wiped out pretty much all of the OG mythics, minus a few that might have still been viable. And now the same thing has happened with corrupted monsters, which is that corrupted monsters have taken over the meta. There have been newer, stronger ones being released all the time. And, so I really see no reason why that wouldn't happen with a newer era coming, shortly. But who knows? Could be wrong, right? But in general, looking at the past trends, it definitely seems like it's going to happen. So do you guys think it's going to happen or not? That's the first thing I want to ask you guys to comment about in the comment section below. And the second topic is, of course, does it need to happen, right? Looking at what we know now, does it have to happen? Do they need to add a bunch of other monsters in order to keep people engaged? What would that do? Would it help sales? Would it hurt sales? And, why can't they just keep the game the way it is and just add more monsters, but also keep the current, the past monsters and so on and so forth viable, right? Why can't they just do that? Why can't they just keep the corrupted monsters completely usable and then just add a new type of monster, right? That's the second question. It's like, do they need to power scale? And from my perspective, I definitely believe that they don't have to, right? Just looking at what happens when you power scale, it's like, well, okay, people still buy anyway, but let's say you didn't. If you look at Pokemon, for example, yes, they are, I think, slowly power scaling. Like, there are monsters that are coming out that are stronger than, previous generations. But in general, there are monsters that, shine in every generation. And then there are some monsters that aren't so good. So typically what ends up happening in a game like that is, a new generation, a new region comes out in a video game and people buy it anyway, right? Like, if you see the generations from Pokemon all the way up until the present, people still buy it. There are crazy amounts of sales. So, just reinventing something, even though it's not necessarily much better than the previous thing stat-wise, it still has a lot of sales, right? So there's no reason why they wouldn't be able to do the same thing here. Just because there are new monsters, I feel like some people will still be enticed to participate anyway, including new players who didn't have a chance to get anything from the corrupted era, right? So they can just buy new monsters that come out. But for the people who, maybe attached to their old ways, or, have a bunch of corrupted monsters that they spent time and money to get, if those are still viable, I don't see how that would, really hurt anything, right? Because, people still buy stuff regardless, as long as it's new. And so I feel like as long as they just keep everything usable, it would actually benefit people in the long run, right? Like, my view is that, okay, they're going to, if they keep this in the game, they keep all the corrupted monsters viable, what will happen is less people will actually stop playing the game, right? Like, people will continue to play because it's a little bit more fair. It's like, okay, well, they put time and energy and money into it, and it's still usable. So it's like, well, there's no reason to keep reinvesting and redoing all of that hard work. I can just play and enjoy it and, maybe get some new monsters if I want to, right? That's pretty much what I think would happen if they didn't power scale. It would be completely fine in my opinion. If anything, it would probably help people because, more people means more ads watched and whatever the case may be. But again, I'm not really sure about this, so I want to hear your ideas on it. Do you think that power scaling is necessary? Do you think that if they didn't power scale, that anything would necessarily happen. Because in my opinion, I feel like it wouldn't really hurt the game, right? And if you look at power scaling like Pokemon, there are Pokemon that get stronger over time, but in general, there are some classes of monsters like pseudo-legendaries and stuff that are still usable to this day, like Garchomp and Salamence and some of the, the best monsters in the game, and Tyranitar. I know they have mega forms and they're evolving with the times, but the idea is that they're still usable in like the gameplay and stuff, so I don't see any reason why this can't happen here. Maybe they can get like slightly stronger, but I feel like there's no reason why they should just take out, any and all monsters and just wipe them all off the meta because they were completely outclassed. I feel like there's no reason for it to go that far. I feel like if they just kept it in such a way that, okay, they could add to the lineup and don't take away the monsters that are already in the meta, I feel like that would help out a lot, because older players may not have to invest new money and, time into getting all these monsters ranked up. And, obviously newer players coming in can just get these monsters because they didn't have access to the previous ones and have fun with those. But everybody, can fight against each other, and it would still be fair, and it would, obviously, I believe it would work out. That's my opinion. So yeah, give your opinion on those two things in the comment section below. Do you think that power scaling will happen at the end of this era? So are we going to see a new class of monster, a new type of mythic monster, something that blows obscure talents out of the water? And do you think that's necessary? Do you think that we can just not power scale and everything will be fine? That's the other question I want to ask you guys. So please leave your responses in the comment section below. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. I did stutter a bit, but hopefully you understood what I was trying to say. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.